Hello.
Hello. Unfathomably live once again.
We are so utterly live to the universe right now. Um, Guys, it's great to see you both. For those of you who do not know, we are welcoming our good friend Drew Marcucci to the Midweek Machamps today. Drew, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm stoked to be back with you doing some fun live stream this time, and honestly stoked to also be here with Ricky. So I think we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, and we have a pretty serious topic going on today, and I'll just kind of intro why we wanted to have you, Drew, on the program today. So later on in the program, guys, we're going to be talking about all these institutional buyers that are kind of finding their way into the secondary market, buying up huge amounts of inventory, putting them in vaults and putting them in mystery pack products and walking around Collecticon and buying out vendors left and right for extremely high percentages of market price, and what effect that's going to have on the entire market, right? And so, as many of you know who are followers of my channel, I've had Drew on the Chompcast 2 or 3 times, I think now, Drew.
Yeah, yeah.
And you are an authority, in my opinion, someone with a lot of experience about card grading, and have been grading cards at a really high level for many years in TCG and Pokemon, back when it was totally niche and no one was doing it. And even until today, now that and all these corporations are getting involved with it, and you've seen everything in between. So we wanted to have Drew on to kind of provide additional commentary about what does this mean for the graded card market? What does it mean for those of us who are just kind of, hobbyists and trying to get some cool graded cards for our own collection? What's the relative morality of all the gambling that's happening in this hobby right now? So it'll be a really interesting night. For those of you that are in the comment section, feel free to comment and also like the stream, of course. And we'll also do some Q&A at the end. So feel free to do some Q&A, and we will star some of those and be able to answer some when we get towards the end. But yeah, that's why we wanted to have Drew on. And before we kind of dive into the beginning of our program, Drew, maybe just introduce yourself for the folks at home.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Drew, or on Instagram, I'm marcuccicollects. Shiny Magikarp is kind of my go-to. So been grading cards really heavily since before the pandemic. And pretty quickly found a passion for that and really enjoyed the quest to find these perfect cards. And over the years, that's kind of been my niche. But other than just chasing these black labels, I really enjoy also just collecting random things that I like. So I've got a Clodsire collection. I've got SpongeBob and Kingdom Hearts cards. So
yes.
Really kind of going after anything that I like is what I'm buying.
So just that really high end stuff, you mean?
Exactly.
Shout out Clodsire. And yes, for those of you who don't know and maybe haven't seen our Chompcast episodes, the first cards I ever graded, I was helped out by Drew, and we did a submission to CGC, and we all just got obliterated and got like CGC 7s and 8s and 9s and lost all of our money on that submission.
Oh yeah, that was like OG days of CGC when it was like harder than any other company, and
Yes.
Yeah, we were just getting 8-5'd out the wall on like for me, even on like Japanese like pack fresh, it was wild.
Brutal.
Yeah, the good old days. So yeah, thanks for the intro. Appreciate you taking your time to be here, Drew. And Ricky, maybe we just dive right into our regular topics with a summary of how our last stream went.
Let's do it. So our last stream was our 8th volume, and we were joined by Danny Phantump, and we got some free game from him about being a real legit card business with distributors, and heard a little bit from him on that. And then we took a welcome break from the sweaty market talk to debate and tier list every single set in Sword and Shield and Scarlet Violet era. And our scale was just purely vibes and personal preference. So there was some fun debate, and I think we went for like 3 hours or close to it. So it was a blast. And yeah, excited to be doing this one with Drew. And I don't know if Jake, we've ever explained to the chat that when we have a third person here, I think they've intuited this, but when we have a third person here, our vibe is not to interview the guest necessarily. It is that they are a co-host alongside you and me. They are a Machamp for the week. So that's what Drew's going to be doing, just like Danny Phantom did last time. So and we've got a fun one lined up for next time that maybe we'll tell folks what's on the docket at the end. So they can.
Yes. Yeah, we got fun plans for the future for the rest of the year. And yeah, so we've got our cool topics of talking about our recent collection pickups or Pokemon deals that we've done, and we've looped Drew into those, so he's going to have some cool stuff to share as well. So maybe we just dive right into that, because we do have one special thing that Drew is going to do for our stream today. We got a special guest segment that will happen. But first, let's share a personal collection pickup, either recent or, Drew, it could just be any collection pickup that you've had that you'd like to have a little show and tell. And I want to nominate Ricky to go first today, if that's okay.
Sure, no problem. So mine today is actually behind me here. So astute observers will realize that I've changed locations in my room here and gone full Poketuber with the Pokemon background, which is really working out for me in my corporate job. It definitely gets questions. But what I've got back here is a BGS 6.5, and it's kind of a random grade, but BGS 6.5 Oyama's Pikachu. And this guy was gifted to me. So the reason I wanted to share this is that I mentioned in I think the last stream or one of the last two, that at Card Party, I sold a PSA 10 Oyama's Pikachu that I had graded myself because of the value was there, and just made sense for me to do that at that point. Part of the reason I felt comfortable doing that is because I knew I'd still have one in the collection. So the backstory with this, very briefly, is I was at a card show like a year plus ago, doing a buyer POV. I was standing next to a negotiation that was happening for an Ancient Mew for a guy in the hobby, in the community here, who he's not a content creator or a vendor. He just is a serious collector, and he particularly loves Mew. And he buys this Ancient Mew. He DMs me and he's like, I don't know if you overheard that negotiation, but I kind of feel like I got dominated. And I was wondering if you have any like negotiating advice.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I only heard little bits and pieces of it. And I gave him a few little things. And I said, you should, there's a lot of great books on negotiating. And I recommended a couple. One of them was Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Oh yeah.
So
great book.
Classic.
Yeah, it is a classic. So Hostage Negotiator, a lot of great little actionable things and a lot of fun stories. So I don't know, a couple months, maybe a month or two later, he comes to a show and he's like, don't tell anybody I gave you this, but I want to give you this. It's like your channel mascot card, the Oyama's Pikachu. And he graded himself as like a grading miss, but he's like, I'm really grateful. I read that book. It really helped my confidence for upcoming negotiations. So I just wanted to say thanks. And I was very touched by that. And I was like, this will never leave this is a perfect example of something that will never leave my collection. So a very nice gift from somebody that I really am only sort of loosely acquainted with, but was able to help and was helped back, not expecting anything. And anyway, so there's a little story to this one, and that's why it's here. So nothing that crazy, 6.5, but cool. I love love how
great story.
Yeah,
it's gorgeous. Very cool. Drew, what do you got, my friend?
Okay, this one I'm pretty excited about. Let's see if I can get this totally on screen. Before I grab it out though, the short story is, PSA has started their TCG or pop culture magazines, and recently a evolution line of a Pokemon I'm a big fan of got its own line of magazines.
Yes.
And they had a magazine that was exclusive to Worlds this year. And I couldn't go to Worlds this year. I was pretty bummed because I really enjoyed going last year. But anyway, so this was a magazine that was exclusive to Worlds. And I bought this graded. So I didn't grade it myself. But this is
sick.
A PSA 10 of the Worlds exclusive Shiny Gyarados.
Nice.
So I'm pretty stoked about it. I mean, you can see next to my head, like, it's pretty massive.
Yeah. How heavy is it? That slab is enormous.
It's got to be like I don't know. It's got to be like a pound at
That's
least.
so sick.
But like fun, something different. I want to put there's 5 magazines from this like drop, I guess, or this month, you would say. So I want to have them all in 10s, and then I want to put them on the wall, like do like some wall art. I feel like that's good for these like dinner plate size slabs,
Yes.
I used to have some big like jumbo BGS slabs that I would make fun of because they're just like so stupidly big, and like it's kind of fun, it's kind of goofy, like I had one like hanging on the wall in my house that like wasn't even that special, but it was just funny, and people would see it and be like, what is this? Like, or like it'd be in the background of a photo and it's just like I'd be like XL slab. Like, so but yeah, so I'm stoked about this. I'm obviously, we've got the shiny Magikarp in the corner. I do have one of the shiny Magikarp magazines, which is they're out of 25 so for the world.
And that's it's like gold magazine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
sick.
so sick.
So I got it from someone else that got it in the mail, and I waited to finally get one, and so that one's at PSA right now. So I'm hoping I've seen 2 9.8s, no 10 yet. So maybe I could be the first.
Is
that it?
No, it's not this one, right?
No,
this one.
So, yeah, there it is. Yep.
That's so tight.
Yeah, and it's like hollow. So I think that's worked out a little harder on the grading, is having like a hollow.
Yeah, it can get scratched and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, I've seen both of the 9.8s that have been graded. They both had greater notes, and PSA said, light surface scratching or something funny.
Ouch.
So, to be expected. I mean, I'll be stoked with a 9.8 if I can get a 9.8. So frankly, I'm just happy to have it in my collection. It's hard, these only 25 of these magazines, so I had to jump on it when I could get one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool. Love it. All right. My turn. So I got to be in Las Vegas this past weekend for Las Vegas Front Row Card Show. And one of the really cool things about vending frequently is just building connections with other vendors who go to these shows, because, you might have something cool walk up to your table, but you just never know what's walking around the entire show. And I have a friend, a fellow vendor, who was like pretty close to the front of the front entrance. And someone walked up with just an insane old vintage collection to him. And it included just a lot of like sealed memorabilia type of Pokemon card stuff. So not necessarily like a binder full of Charizards, but like, sealed Pokemon Worlds portfolios and Neo portfolios. And one of the things that he picked up in that collection that I got from him later that day was this.
Is that sealed?
This is sealed.
Oh, dude.
The fully sealed Japanese
CD
promo set.
Wow.
So that is cool. Now in my personal collection.
Oh, no. I need one.
Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, Snorlax, and then a whole bunch of the non-hollows as well. So just a really cool thing. Once he showed it to me, I was like, I'm going to need you to not sell that tomorrow. So I walked up and I traded him a felt hat Pikachu and a 10 because they're everywhere, and a little bit of money on top. So that was a really cool deal. And I don't do a ton of Japanese, but things that are, I think, like iconic to the hobby, I'm down to have in Japanese, and unless there's like an equivalent English version, and this one's pretty unique in Japanese. So yeah.
Man, I kind of wish you hadn't shown me that, because I'm like, now I need one.
Yes, you do.
that would look pretty good on this shelf here. That's awesome, man. Congrats. That's a very cool pickup.
Yeah, really, really a cool thing. So that's exciting.
You planning to keep that bad boy sealed?
Yeah, absolutely. That's sealed collection all the way.
Drew's salivating over the grading. The grading potential.
Yeah.
Like, let's rip it and send them all to BGS.
I love 9.5s.
Yeah, I looked pretty closely at the back, and not that I was planning to open it, but like you can see that at least the back card and the little stack of cards has some whitening and stuff. So I'm not like, and I don't even care. I like it. I like
Yeah.
it more that it's sealed.
Totally.
Like I've gotten to this point, and I know Ricky's in a similar vein. I get to see enough of the graded cards and like,
Oh, yeah.
all the wow factor of how much that increases the value of something. But like having stuff like that sealed, or like, raw gold star cards in your binder and shinings and stuff, like that's where it's at, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, big time. I think even as much as I am like a huge grader, like nothing brings me greater joy than someone bringing me a binder and being like, hey, check out my collection. Like
Yes.
something about flipping through binder pages is like, slabs will never come close to that. You know what I mean? Like
I completely agree.
like there's something different about it. And obviously there's like that nostalgic value. It's like when we were kids, there was no graded cards. Like it was just, kids with binders, and everything had dents and creases, and it didn't matter. So like I think I totally, there's something about that, that binder of just like raw cards. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to have you next time you're back in Utah, Drew. I gotta show you my E Series binder. It's absolutely bonkers. We're about 80% done with
That's
Expedition
crazy.
Aquapolis and Skyridge master sets combined into one binder.
Wow.
Dude, that's
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's pretty saucy. I get I catch myself like wasting time in the middle of the day just flipping through it when I should be working.
As you should.
I love that, dude. I mean, that's like that's the point. Like it's like you don't just complete it and then set it aside and never look at it, or at least to me that would defeat the purpose. Like flipping through the binder every so often is the way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm actually, to that end, I haven't shared this, but I guess I'll announce it here, and it'll be some accountability around this. I decided what I'm going to collect next now that I finished the Neo Shinings, English and Japanese, plus the Lugias.
Wow, I'm excited for this.
I'm going to binder collect all of LC Reverse.
Oh, yes.
Ooh, very nice.
I'm so excited to sell you so many of them.
Thank you. I can't wait to buy them from you. So yeah, if people have got, maybe like MP to LP-ish, nice binder copies of Legendary Collection Reverse, I started it with a Magnemite. It was just the first thing I came across after I decided this in a card shop locally, actually. So I have one lowly little LC Reverse Magnemite to start the binder, but it's in its own binder, and it's like 102 or so cards, I think, and it's going to look really cool finished in a binder. So that's however long it takes, but that's the next endeavor.
So just reverses, huh?
Just the reverses.
I love that. That's so cool.
Reverse I think looks unusually good in that set is the Venusaur. I don't know why. I think the Legendary Collection, like the reverse Venusaur, it just suits that card so well.
I feel the same way about the Dark Dragonite.
Oh, yes.
The Dark Dragonite reverse is so saucy.
Oh yeah, I've seen this before for sure.
Oh, I've seen it.
I've owned this.
I love it. PSA made me lose thousands of dollars on this card. I know this one well.
That's right. You got they held it hostage.
Yeah, Drew, I can just boot you from the studio now. I know that was some subtle gas.
That was, yeah, I remember that. That's wild. The Dark Dragonite, yeah, it just like really matches the color of the holo. Really matches the card, the like belly here, right?
Yes.
Background, yeah. Very cool.
Same with the Dark Vaporeon. That's another good one.
Yeah.
Especially because that one's also really cool in the holo, just because that was the only dark evolution to get a holo. So there's something cool about that too.
What's interesting about like these WotC cards is like the artwork on the non-holo rares. It actually like has something going on in the artwork, whereas the holos kind of drown that artwork out and just have like kind of a flat holo pattern. So like it makes the reverses of those rares like so cool because like you get both. You get a holo and you also get to see the artwork that's in the artwork pane.
That's a good point.
Someone said hot take, LC reverses don't look good. So I don't know if this is that hot of a take. I know that growing up for me, anyone in my age group probably knows this feeling also. These had a bit of a stigma of coming across like fake cards because there are these really rampantly available stickers and fakes that had this firework holo pattern. So when I got back into the hobby, I was definitely one of the people that looked at that and I was like, why would you want that? It looks like one of those fake cards. And then the longer I've been in the hobby, they just like have grown on me so much as like a very unique part of the like legitimate history of Pokemon. And there's some charm to the fact that they resemble those fake stickers from that era now. There's like a nostalgia to it.
Oh yeah, no, big time. I think this is this kind of harps on like a classic point of like sometimes things that are hated at the time, because like Legendary Collection was disliked for a few reasons. Like it's so, it's held to this high esteem today. Like it's really rare. It was unique to English. But like back in the day, it was kind of, people were like, this is base set 3. Like we're running this back again. And to top it off, we have these gas station looking hollows. Like people really like kind of trashed it. But and so I think because of that, now we fast forward 25 years and it becomes something that's like a unique piece of Pokemon history. And obviously, it's become one of the most expensive sets.
Yeah, I think honestly, a modern equivalent is going to be some of these metal cards that the Pokemon Company is finally creating officially, like that Charizard, the Pikachu. When those came out, like it was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but like look at those prices already. I think the Charizard graded in a 10 is like $8,000 or $9,000 or something like that. So
wow, crazy.
Really cool.
All right. Well, I'm sure we could wax poetic forever on personal collecting goals, but we do have a program to continue on to. So our next traditional topic is our favorite or notable Pokemon card deal done recently, ideally since the last live stream. Who wants to start?
Mine's kind of obvious. I posted it all over my Instagram the other day. We picked up the Gold Star Rayquaza, and I think I showed that maybe 2 programs ago, Ricky. Did I show that on stream?
I don't think you did.
Maybe I didn't. Well, it was a PSA 8.5.
Maybe.
Gold Star Rayquaza English that I picked up in Chicago. And then this past weekend in Las Vegas, someone came and wanted to trade for it. And they traded in some really, really cool cards. First edition, all PSA 10s, first edition Dark Raichu and Dark Charizard from Rocket. We got Articuno and Arcanine from Skyridge Hollows. And we got, what else? A Charizard V from Brilliant Stars and something else I can't remember. But just a really cool trade, really a really great deal. Both parties, it was like really mutually beneficial. Like he had bought a bunch of those cards before they boomed, and so he was into them for cheap. And he's always wanted a Rayquaza. Awesome trade. Nice. And I personally, like, again, because I'm a little bit of a Gen 1er, like I love those first edition WotC cards, and so I was also really excited about it because I love Gold Star Rayquaza. It's very cool, but also I don't have any nostalgia for Gold Star Rayquaza.
Sure.
And so, I was excited about that one.
Nice. Love it. Cool. I can go next. Mine is not a favorite as much as it is a notable. And I think we'll get back to some of this sort of theme later in the show. But I occasionally do these Instagram story sales where I'll post a few photos worth of slabs and cards that I'll just sort of sell directly through Instagram, and have generally they've been great for me generally, right? I don't have a platform fee. I can give people a good deal, sell it, 90 to 95% most of the time, and never had issues with shipping those things to these people. Great way to interact with people who maybe follow the channel but aren't going to see me at a show. And normally I would sell something like 5 to 10 deals worth $2 to $5K in an afternoon on one of those story sales. And I did one recently and sold nothing. I had one person that was actually interested in the card. I haven't followed up, but a Charizard XY promo didn't actually end up paying, didn't end up going through with the deal. So that was an interesting shift in the winds, if you will, compared to how liquid these things have felt and how much fervor there's been for jumping on things. And I was joking all the time about, the Mewtwo V-Star from Crown Zenith. It was $120 and nobody wanted it. Now it's $220. Everyone's going to want it. And sure enough, people buy it when it's at that all-time high. And then things retrace 20%. And I like, it's like not a whisper, very, very quiet story sale. So I thought that was very interesting. And so not a favorite, but a notable lack of a deal since the last stream. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about this this retrace. It's gonna come up organically, but I thought that was very, very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's we had our top signs a couple weeks ago, and now it's crash signs.
Oh yeah, it's crashed. It's over. You have to quit your Pokemon dreams, and I have to start selling my real investments. And
yeah, I've already applied to local retail stores to do inventory for them.
Nice. Just really so you can scalp them more directly, or
no, just
selling American Eagle jeans this winter.
Yeah, exactly. I need to get back into a more stable market. And pants. Everyone always needs pants.
That's such a good point. Drew, what's your favorite or notable deal since in the last few weeks?
Okay, so I've got this buddy on Instagram that I feel like he's always, I don't know how he's doing it. Like maybe I've just gotten worse at it or something, but he is somehow always sourcing like beautiful EX era cards, specifically the EX cards, the silver borders, which, if you've seen any of the chomp casts with me on, like I can just, I can glaze the EX cards like for hours. The silver borders, I've talked about it before, but like I never pulled a gold star as a kid. And so like, even though I love the gold stars, like the EX cards are like what I care about because that's what I pulled. And that's what I thought was so cool at the time. And so anyways, he's always having these cool, clean EX cards come through. And he had a recent batch that just got like wailed on by PSA. It was like, all the 8s that should have been 9s kind of thing. And so I reached out to him and I was like, dude, I know you source clean cards. Like, I know these are good. Like, I will literally just buy all of your 8s, like I want these cards in my collection. And so, I picked up like the Legend Maker, UEX.
Oh yes.
Which is, a very fun one, especially, that one ended up in our celebrations. So people got to see that one. And then maybe a niche pick, but Sharpedo EX from EX Deoxys.
Nice.
People don't really care about the EX cards in Deoxys. It's like so gold star, go home, like Deoxys is the set where if you pulled 2 EX cards in one pack somehow and they both tend, you'd still lose money. Like it makes no sense. Like so I you have the other Deoxys forms in that set too, but yeah, so I just picked up like 5 or 6 of these EX cards that I'm stoked to have.
Love it. All right, guys, that's it for our traditional topics that we start every show with, and we do have, as Jake said at the top, what do you want to call it? A cameo, a guest segment,
Special guest segment.
So we're gonna find out together live if when Drew bought the thing that he's about to show us, was Drew in the Magna Zone or did he get mucked over? So Drew, can you explain to us what you're going to open live on stream and why it's a bit of a gamble? And we're going to find out in the Magna Zone or mucked over. What's the context?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm pretty excited about this. So I'll show this right here on camera. This is a 25th anniversary Japanese promo pack. So if you were around during the 25th anniversary, in English we had celebrations, and in order to get those classic collection cards, it was just like in the pack. Japanese did it differently, where they had these purchase campaigns, and if you bought a box, for example, you get one of these packs, and these have the classic collection cards in them. So obviously, you're looking for the big 3 or Shining Magikarp or the Umbreon Gold Star. Here's the problem. And this was known pretty early on. And Japanese sellers had figured out that if you used a high-powered flashlight, you could figure out what card was in these packs. So, there's only one card in it, so it's not like it's hiding. But yeah, if you used a high-powered flashlight, you'd be able to see the texture. And so like a trained eye could see, okay, oh, there's a Charizard in here. We're opening it. We're not selling this pack. And I was the victim of this, I knew this. People had said, oh, the Japanese sellers are, they're able to see that there's cards in it. And so I was like, well, it can't be that bad. And so I bought I think I want to say 20 packs I bought like 5 from 4 different sellers, and the only cards I pulled, which at the time were like dollar cards, you know, it was like, I think I pulled like 6 Team Magma Groudons, so many Team Rocket returns or Team Rocket admins, basically like the cards that no one cared about. Oh, Clay Dolls, you know. And I was like, okay, I guess they were right. Like, you know, surely I'm not just like getting unlucky on all of these packs in a row and just getting
You're getting scammed, Drew.
Only the same 5 cards.
Wow.
So anyways, I saw recently on one of the Japanese marketplaces this pack for sale, and it was for a higher price. This was like $150, I want to say. 170 maybe. But they said this has the Umbreon Gold Star in it. And I was like, sure, you know. if it gets a 10, you know, I'll make a little bit of money, but it'll just be for fun more so, you know. Or
for science.
Not fun if it's not the Umbreon. So
yeah.
I haven't even opened it out of this Japanese package, but
nope, it's off the camera. He's already exchanged it from it.
We will get this homeboy out, and
so for anyone just joining us or anyone who's zoned out as Drew's working on this, he bought a pack of cards that I think there's only one card in it, so folks could see what was in it through with the high powered flashlight. And this was billed as containing the Gold Star Umbreon. So we are going to find out if he was in the Magna Zone or if he got mucked over. Wow.
Rip it.
Okay.
All right. Well,
we're looking sealed.
We're looking sealed.
Let's see. Okay. So, well, after I cut it, I'll turn it around so that we can see. We'll do a slow reveal.
Okay, if it's not the Gold Star Umbreon, hey,
that looks good to me.
Woo! Hey!
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
We were in the Magna Zone. We didn't get scammed.
In the Magna Zone.
Yes.
How does it look grading?
This looks really nice. Good.
Centering's good.
Yeah, something that was really exciting is this was like when this set came out, this was around the time when I was getting into, you know, trying to pursue or try to grade like some black labels. And this set had really good quality control. So like if you look at like the pop report for the 25th anniversary on Beckett, you'll see like almost like a, not disproportionate, but you'll see a higher number of black labels than some other sets. So this was like a fun set to grade, really. If you're a grading nerd like me, this was a cool one to go after. But yes, let's go. That's great.
Congrats, man. You did it. Does that card have silver border as well? Like that's so sick. So much better than the English.
Oh yeah, I forgot the English is like the yellow and it's got the big Kika symbol. Yeah.
No, the Japanese is way nicer.
Hey, we didn't get mucked over. Let's go.
In the Magna Zone. Get in the zone. Magna Zone. Yeah. Should I open it or should I keep it sealed? It was open it was the verdict here.
Open it was the only option.
Obviously.
Yeah, seriously. I should have bought like a super high powered flashlight or something just to see. Like I've people say you can. I mean, obviously this seller was able to do it correctly.
Kind of proves it. Yeah. Nice. Well, thanks for doing that, Drew. That was Drew's idea, and we had some fun coming up with the segment name. And maybe someday in the future, we'll see if us or a future guest is also in the Magna Zone or mucked over. But in the
maybe like every quarter, we should open a vintage pack together, Ricky.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I don't hate that idea at all.
Yeah,
that's what the super chats have to fund. That I think is the move, right? we just pull just like panhandle for shekels until we can.
Panhandle to watch some losses.
That's crazy.
I'm kidding, guys. You don't have to. Don't just only do the super chats if you want to. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. But yeah, we'll see in the future. But 1-0 for a Magna Zone versus mucked over. We love it. Let's get into the tall grass.
Ooh, welcome to the tall grass. You venture in. Luckily, you have many Pokemon on your belt. And what do you discover, Ricky?
What do we discover? Well, we discover first some Hitmon topics. It always makes Blast Boost is in the chat. $9.99 Watsy. All right, getting us started. Blast Boost always.
Brandon gifting memberships. Look what you did, Ricky.
Guys, your presence here. Your presence here is enough for us, truly. Okay.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your support.
Hitmon topics. So the first thing we should talk about here is Mega Dream, right? We've got sort of some leaks and verified news on an upcoming set. And of course, the main talk of the town is this young man, my son Gengar. So Drew, I know you had said you maybe hadn't seen some of this, and you were maybe going to keep it. Did you end up looking at these before the stream, or
No,
are you seeing some of these?
I know I've seen, of course, the Gengar, but that's the only one that I've seen.
All right. Okay. What do we think?
It's nasty.
Of this young man. Yeah, nasty.
Yeah.
It's got like a disgusting wave or whatever that is, a wave of garbage or something. What is this?
Wave?
It's like toxic materials wave.
Yeah, some sort of sludge wave.
Yes.
Well, I feel like that's good because like I feel like people focus on Gengar being just a ghost, but like he's ghost poison, and like he's kind of rolling with it right here. Like that's some, if that liquid touches you, like you're going to the doctor immediately.
Sure. That's right. That's sludge bomb or whatever.
Yeah. that looks like it comes from muck, to be honest.
It does. So someone asked, is this better, Alcyon Collectibles? Is this better than the Fusion Strike VMAX? Do we have a take yet? It's obvious to compare them. I personally like the colors on this one more. I like the high contrast of this one. I think it's going to look awesome in person with the texture. Yes. I think what the Fusion Strike one definitely has going for it is like all the other Pokemon in it, and you really get a sense of the scale of the Mega or the VMAX, I guess. But I don't know. I think I like the Mega more than the VMAX here.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I agree with that. I'm not like a huge fan of like enormous Pokemon tongues. So just kind of a devious little smile. I'm down for that.
Hey, pull up the art rare of Ghastly giving Gengar a lick. That's the crazy one. Yeah. If we're talking about the Poke, yeah, dude.
Let's see if I get. Yeah,
he's giving that lick. Oh no, it's Gengar giving Ghastly the lick.
Gengar's out here giving out the licks.
Whoa!
And like, and Ghastly's looking at him like it's like a hello. Like,
wait, wow! Hold on. Pause.
Have you not seen this before?
Pause. Of course, I've seen that there's Gengars in this. I've never really taken note. Okay.
If you keep zooming in, then our stream's going to get taken down.
Okay. So I don't want that. Okay. So we've got different takes in the chat here on Fusion Strike. So I mean, look, this is what's cool about opinions and people and taste is some people think Fusion Strike's way better. Some people think this one's way better.
I really like the colors and I do think the texture is going to look like wicked on this card.
Yeah.
I think I do like the goofiness of the VMAX. Like he's just kind of like, right. He's like sucking everything up. It feels like Kirby almost, which is kind of fun. But this gets to like this is devious Gengar, which I think a lot of people will like.
Yeah.
What's fun is they're two totally different art styles. It's like very different directions.
I have a hunch that this Gengar is going to be easier to pull than the VMAX too.
100%. Yeah.
Here's another one that we got to look at, which is I think kind of an underrated Mon, but we've got Grimmsnarl, a spooky goblin-y man. I think this is Marnie, right?
Yeah, I like this. I don't have like a big connection to Grimmsnarl.
Same.
But cool artwork.
Totally. And we know we're getting these comic booky ones, which just grow on me more every time I see them, to be honest.
Yeah. They're going to look good if you have like the pulls from, well, I guess like I'm curious, like are those Mega Lucario and Gardevoir going to also be like things you have to pull from packs, or if they're going to be promos, kind of like how the Charizard is in the UPC, you know?
Don't know.
Japan, it's pretty rare that Japan like ruins like a secret rare.
Right. In Japanese, I would expect that they're in the set, but I mean in
Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Wow, the Gardevoir. Oh, dude, is that Jerky? Is that the art for artist?
It is.
100%. Let's go. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Nice.
So we're getting the Evo line, kind of matching Evo line, and yes, Jerky. Very distinctive style here. Fun card. So yeah, not a lot that we've seen out of this set just yet. We do have our very winged friend on the pack art, which, as we now know,
don't mean jack.
don't mean nothing. Yeah, don't mean nothing.
But we also got Mewtwo on there. Okay.
Yeah, I guess taking a close look, we've got Pika, Lucario, Hawlucha,
yeah,
Electros down here. We got Ho-Oh in the back here.
This is crazy, actually.
It is cool art. I mean, if nothing else, it'll be like kind of collectible, maybe booster box or something for the art. But yeah, as we know, this doesn't mean anything about what's going to actually be in the set. One thing I just wanted to note is this literally says Mega Dorimu. So it's not Yume Yume is like, I think the Japanese word for a dream. But they just went with like the kind of anglicized Mega Dorimu. So that's what we're getting in Japanese is Mega Dorimu.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on the Mega Dream leaks before we move on to our next Hitmon topic?
Did you I saw that we have I think a Lily trainer in here. Ooh. And then or was one of the leaks? Yeah, we've got Lily there. This was like, did either of y'all see the I think it's fake, but like the gold Lily card that was
I did see that
floating around. I think that's probably fake, but if it was real, that would be interesting because I don't think we've had like very many
I'm not finding the exact. I know what you're talking about. I'm not finding it on a quick
Google,
but it's the new
that rarity. Yeah.
The new style of gold card. Yeah, I'm not finding it, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I wouldn't be surprised if they make trainers supporter cards with that gold foil like that.
Well, if there's any that they should do, it would be Lily, 100%.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Fun. So we're getting a look at what's coming up next. Let's move on to some video game news that might also obviously impact the TCG and cards and stuff. We've got 2 new megas announced, and also the announcement of some sort of like hyperspace that allows you to go over level 100 for the first time in a mainline game. So kind of interesting. What do we think of these megas and this breaking the level 100 limit in the games?
I think the Baxcalibur is pretty sick. I'm a little surprised. Well, maybe I'm not, but like the idea that Baxcalibur, who got released just last generation's already getting a mega, is interesting.
Yeah, agree. There's definitely some mons that are just truly never going to get any love, and some that will get a lot. And Baxcalibur gets some love with this like insane like sword coming out his back. It's like it's pretty metal for Pokemon design. So many of these megas have gone in this like insanely goofy direction.
Yeah. Like,
and then we've got this guy looking like a Digimon or something.
That's a good. He is kind of like, I think Baxcalibur's middle evolution is like the most. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like the most Digimon Pokemon is.
Yes.
Like it's so funny to me. What's his name?
Arctibax is his name.
Give us a good Arctibax photo because yes.
He does. He looks like a Neopet too somehow.
Yeah, 100%. Like he got lost. He's in the wrong franchise. But yeah, I mean, someone said it in chat. Like it's like Excalibur and Baxcalibur. It's like Sword in the Stone type beat, you know.
Yep.
Which is cool. And then I mean, Chime. Yeah, and don't even get me started on Flygon. I think they're gonna bait us for 10 more years on that one.
Yeah, they are.
I do think Chimeco looks really good. Do I think there was a lot of people asking for a Chimeco? I don't know, but I mean, can't complain when we get a good design. If anything,
It's somebody's favorite.
If anything, this gives me hope for like, we're gonna keep getting more cool megas, and random Pokemon can be in the running for this seemingly.
Yeah.
So like to release these two, like it seems funny. It's like I would expect Baxcalibur to be with like a Hydreigon or something, like two of these, pseudo legendary heavy hitters or something.
Yeah, good point.
But no,
but the over level 100 piece. So we
Yeah.
kind of talked about this as we prepped. The last time we had over level 100 access in a video game was red version, Missing No. Can we get a picture of Missing No, Ricky? Can we educate the kids?
This was peak right here.
Is anybody so young that they don't know what this is in this chat? Is that possible?
If you don't know Missing No, it's okay.
Look at this beast. Yes.
This water gun in Sky Attack. I love it.
What's crazy is this was playground lore that turned out to be real. Like it was like also like something you could go and do very easily in the game.
Yeah, you heard about this and then you went and tried it for like a couple hours at home, broke your game, and then you had to start over. I remember because like one of the things you would do with this is you would surf up and down on Cinnabar so you could like max out rare candies in your 7th slot in your backpack or whatever.
Yep.
And then sometimes Missing No would appear, but also sometimes it was other Pokemon at like crazy levels, like Mewtwo's and Kangaskhan's and whatever else at like level 162. What a crazy time as a kid. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm hacking the mainframes. I'm going to get in so much trouble from Nintendo.
Yeah, no, that was, I remember I had a Pokemon that was like level 252 or something. But then I put that Pokemon in battle, and as soon as it got XP, it just leveled up to 100. And I was like, no, like,
yeah, exactly.
I thought I had the most powerful team, Did either of y'all do the Mew glitch in Pokemon Red or Blue?
Oh yeah, I've done that recently.
Oh,
and it's legit and it's stable too. Like you can trade the Mew. It's really, really cool.
It's so cool. The first time I did it, I remember following a YouTube video and I thought it was not going to work. And sure enough, level 7 Mew showed up, and like, the way that it shows up in game, like, it's so peak. Like it feels like a nerd moment that just was meant to happen.
Completely agree. And I remember as a kid that the other things, we're off on a serious tangent now, but just like
Charmander,
like hearing about like, oh, if you get the full Pokedex and then you level these guys up to level 100, then you can battle Professor Oak and like all this stuff that like would come out. And that's back when video games were so cool because there wasn't internet and Cerebi and whatever just to tell you everything you would ever want to know about all the games. You just had to discover it.
True.
Someone in the chat's like, what did I just stumble on? Yeah, you thought you were coming to the podcast to get some free game about Pokemon Market and card collecting. And nope, you got 48 minutes now of just 3 millennials talking about Missing No and the Mew glitch and who's the most Digimon Pokemon. Some really deep analysis happening so far.
Sorry, guys. We're just nerds at heart.
We are. We never promised anything other than whatever the title of the video is, which we are going to get to. Jake, I think to get to some of the more like market oriented stuff, because that is where we're probably going to end up spending the rest of our time today, is an experience you had with the Charizard SIR at, I think, Front Row Vegas this past weekend, right?
Yes. So the new Charizard from Phantasmal Flames, the SIR version, did come up to my table I think it was 3 different times this past weekend. And the only way you could have opened that would have been at pre-release, like a pre-release event, unless, you were a card store opening up your own product before selling it, which I'd be surprised if many stores are still doing that just because of how much margin you can make on sealed stuff these days. Mm-hmm. But yeah, long story short, it seems to me, and from other streams that I'm kind of observing, it seems to me like this card is relatively easy to pull compared to other SIRs from other sets. Maybe pull rates more similar to like the front half of Scarlet and Violet, where it was a little bit easier. And I'm just curious what that's going to do for the value of the card. And you know, everyone obviously is going to want a copy. It's an incredible artwork, but yeah, very, very interesting that it was that frequent on the day after you could have gotten it, you know?
Yeah, really interesting trend. Someone is Wind Waker in the chat again, telling us a bunch of PSA 10 Japanese ones at Dallas Collecticon and some raw English ones. So yeah, they're already out there, which maybe does suggest easier pull rates. I guess we'll find out from the folks that are the authorities on it. Folks like Danny Phantom will probably make videos with all the data to let us know if that's anecdotal or real. But kind of interesting thing that you're noticing. And yeah, when you shared that as we were prepping for this, I was like, oh yeah, let's talk about this on the pod for a second, because yeah, kind of interesting insight, and we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a card that, like, when we first saw the leak, it was like, oh man, this is gonna be huge. And who knows, like, if it's prevalent and kind of easier to pull, then yeah, maybe that bodes a little bit well for those who are going to want to get access to this sealed product. You know, maybe it, because you'd think that the harder it is to pull, the more the box would be, right? Because it's more rare.
The chat's going off with a lot of more anecdotal confirmation of a lot of SIRs per box case, going to be high population. Danny apparently pulled at least 2 of them today on his stream.
Wow.
Halcyon Collectibles 1 in 300-ish versus Umbreon from Prismatic at 1 in 1440. So that would suggest much, much higher pull rate there. Someone did note that in English, Charmander, it does have kind of his forehead and snout cut off a little bit. So
yes,
that's a definite missing nose, if you will.
Hey, nice.
See what you did
Come
there.
on, Jake. You loved that. Come on.
I'm signing off.
You loved it. Come on. Show how much you loved it. Cool, man. Let's talk about the market in general as well before we get to the main topic. There is definitely some consolidation, some slowdown, some retracing happening, some bearishness and tentativeness. And you and I we were texting about this, and we were like, we should stop this conversation and just do this on the pod because we feel like there's sort of some opportunity here in some areas. Jake, what were you observing on some of these like PSA 10 alts as an example?
Yeah, I'm seeing how, you know, let's take some Sword and Shield alt arts graded in a 10, or even Scarlet and Violet cards in a 10. Back in June, they were kind of at a pretty steady price point, and then between June and August, September, they just really, really went up quickly. A lot of them doubled in price. And then now we're seeing a lot of them cool off quite a bit, specifically the graded copies. The raw copies have also kind of retraced 10, 15%, but some of the graded copies are down like 40, 50, 60%. And the example that I was just kind of thinking about was the Celebi V from Fusion Strike. And just kind of like the idea about how maybe like the delta between like a raw near mint copy and a 10 was at a certain level, and then it kind of really separated, and now it's kind of getting back to that level. Trying to think about, okay, well, you know, Celebi V right now, what is it, like $300 or so in a 10, selling pretty consistently at that price now. Is it realistic to think that long-term Celebi V has a good chance at going higher than 300, given that not too long ago it had sales at 500? So just interesting to think about for those that are maybe a bit more risky and interested in making some speculative plays on graded or single cards. Some of these things we're seeing look like opportunities. Now, who knows, like, when they're going to get back to those all-time highs, but it would seem to me like, you know, Celebi V, alt art, hard to pull, Fusion Strike, which is a box that's like $1,000.
Yeah.
Graded in a PSA 10, has sold for 500 in the past. It makes me think like it could get to 500 again, maybe higher. So buying it now for $290 seems like pretty solid opportunity, guys.
So something interesting that I pointed out, just to kind of we always like to pull each other's thread on this sort of stuff, like $77 high for the raw card at 61 now. So what, $17 down on the raw card, $15 down. Not a super huge correction, 20% or so, more in line with other parts of the market. Whereas this, as we were seeing, this $500 sale in September 14th versus November 9th, the most recent 290 sale a couple days ago, almost 50% difference here. So the question then in my mind becomes, was the PSA 10 overvalued at 500 at a 6.4x premium for the 10? And it's a 40, I think we looked it up, 7,400 population card in a 10 with a 48 or something percent gem rate. So relatively, pretty solid, not crazy, not bad, not terribly hard to gem. Was the $500 value just overvalued in this 20% correction in the single price, the raw card price, maybe an indication of that? Or is this an overcorrection from those highs?
Yeah. My first reaction to it, and I think I mentioned this briefly in our text, Ricky, was the move that it originally made seemed to be pretty closely tied to the movement of the Fusion Strike booster box.
Yeah.
And now that a lot of the Sword and Shield boxes have slowed down or retraced 10%, maybe the move would be to pick up some of these alt arts and wait until the next box kind of step up. Fusion makes it from 1,000 to 1,200 or whatever, and kind of gets all the eyeballs back on it. That's, in my mind, got to be, it's going to mean that like a Selby, for example, will be able to get back to its all-time highs or even higher again.
Yep. I could see it.
Just a speculation.
I could see it. Fun one. So I'm sure there's others we can think of, but that Selby view is a fun sort of case study.
Drew, any thoughts on this? I know you grade more with Beckett, but what's your take?
I mean, this is, I think bringing up the Fusion Strike booster boxes is interesting, just with like, I think we see prices move when we see social media, and when we see social media, we see prices move, right? So like, it's like this double-edged, someone posts a record sale, it gets shared, and someone posts, we have these big streamers that are, or even hoarders that are just posting like, buying Fusion Strike boxes, $50,000 limit. And you're like, where like and so you have these interesting, I guess, like, it's almost like, it's like a market phenomenon that happens. But I do feel like that Selby card was undervalued for a long time.
Me too.
I think, yeah, the price spike was maybe a little, it wasn't even like that crazy, but I do think where it's at now is maybe more realistic. But I mean, that's a card that I think that art is just really good. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I opened up probably 300 packs of Fusion Strike back in the day, and it was Fusion Strikeout. I think I hit one V alt out of 300 packs and nothing else. So
I love this.
Buying everything. I need 5 mil by yesterday. That's how they be talking.
I love seeing those posts in Facebook and Instagram too. I'm just like, dang, you guys are in a hurry to absolutely spend it all.
Yeah.
And it's never complete without either making the post with a Rolex with a Porsche badge. That's one option. Or the other option is a screenshot of your checking accounts.
Yes.
That was odd.
Oh, the screenshot of the checking account is crazy.
Yeah.
No, the Lamborghini steering wheel is also very good.
They go unlimited budget, screenshot checking account, $300,000.
Yeah. You're like, okay, I mean, that's cool, but yeah, ridiculous. All right, let's move on to our next segment here, the Gyarados of reality. And we've got a couple Gyaradoses of reality. Drew, I think you had one for us about your gold stars. Oh,
yeah. Okay. Getting a little spicy. This probably isn't even that crazy for most, but okay, my Gyarados of reality is, and I'm here to lay it on the table. Also, I don't own a single one, so this comes from a non-biased spot in that. Well, actually, I do own the Japanese 25th Umbreon Gold Star now. So, but I think that Gold Stars, maybe even the Japanese more than the English, have seen a too big of a climb in too short of a time. I was telling you guys, in 2024, I had in my cart a $1,400 PSA 10 Japanese Gold Star Trico. $1,400. Torchics were $3,000, and now we're seeing $30,000 Torchics, and somehow asking $50,000 for the unlimited version. And so when something in 2024 was a tenth the price it is now, I think that we're looking at a market spike that is just not sustainable. I do think that Gold Stars are the best cards, the best chases ever printed. But even then, I still am, I just don't think that high of a jump is healthy or even justified. But people have kind of been saying that for a while now. But I feel like it's important to kind of back it up with like numbers. Like we were easily able to buy a Torchic Gold Star that was sitting on the market like for weeks for $3,000, $2,500 in 2024. Same thing with I was at a card show in 2024 when a friend graded a 9.5 BGS Japanese Gold Star Rayquaza, and the going rate was $5,000. Like,
Wow.
That's 2024. Like, this isn't long ago. Like, so I think people, we get a little caught up in the social media posts and the record sale posts and everything's on fire.
Let me push back because like what's true? Is it that they're overvalued, or that they were overvalued now, or that were undervalued then?
I think both. I think we look at the numbers, especially Japanese EX era. Like some of these pop reports are like pretty minuscule. Whether or not there should be a command or a higher premium on an unlimited versus a first edition, there's maybe some argument there, maybe not. But like we're talking like 14 PSA 10s, stuff like that, and so that's really small. And so were they undervalued before? Absolutely. But do I also think that a 10 or 15x increase in 1 year is reasonable? There's probably a healthy ground in the middle.
Yeah, I think when Ricky and I for last chatted about Gold Stars, we kind of agreed. Well, and Drew, you and I chatted about it on the last time we did a podcast together. It's like here's the truth is that Gold Stars are like, from as far as things you can pull from a pack, are pretty much the pinnacle.
Yeah,
they're shiny, they're legendaries, they're main characters, that kind of stuff. They're like a 4th level rarity. They're like the first ever like 4th level rarity for in Pokemon, right? Because you've got like, well, maybe even more. You got like commons, uncommons, rares, hollows, EXs, Gold Stars, right? In Gen 3, which is pretty fascinating. But yeah, the meteoric rise, I mean, it does kind of scream like, okay, there's some euphoria going on, but I'm also seeing like, it's not just the 10s and the low pop ones, like all the way down to the 1s. We're seeing increased liquidity, increased value, desirability, people trading in PSA 10s of some Pokemon to pick up PSA 6 of another. And that's pretty rare. It's showing that these things have like similar staying power to some of these like vintage sports cards that like you guys see. Like in some of these sports cards, they're like, if you can get your hands on like a PSA 2 Babe Ruth card, like you are the top of the top. And I don't know, it seems to me like Gold Stars are kind of like that for us in a lot of ways, you know, because they're not so early that they're Watsy and not enough people like, you know, can really appreciate them. They've got better artwork. They're harder to pull, all these different things. They have so much going for them. But I agree that like such a short price rise in that period of time, it does leave some risk on the table. But also at the same time, I really think there's just been an enormous repricing, and kind of like a light has been shined on what's possible with these cards from a value standpoint.
I like that take. I think, I mean, I think you bring up a lot of like valid, you know, Fleer Jordans. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I like what you said, a massive repricing. That's interesting, because we've seen that kind of across the board, like from vintage to modern, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm sure we'll come across this topic in the future, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see another MSRP increase from Pokemon on booster boxes and packs and stuff in the near future. And that's like to think that is now behind the times, whereas before they increased MSRP and then everything kind of had to like adjust to that with scarcity and demand kind of playing a role. But now they're going to have to reactively increase MSRP again. That's going to kind of reprice everything. And there's certain things that can kind of raise the tide on the entire market, you know?
Oh yeah. I think someone in the chat brought up level X pop reports, and that's another one that is
Diamond and Pearl pop reports are insanely low, like this.
Mind-boggling.
This, shout out Chomp.
Dude, yeah.
Garchomp Hollow Supreme Victors. This is a PSA 10 pop 1.
Dude.
Wow.
Yep.
Huh.
Dude, one of the most beautiful level X's. Let's guess, okay? Gardevoir level X from Secret Wonders. Okay? Guess how many have been graded, and then guess how many are 10s.
I'm going to say 200 graded, 10 10s.
I'm going to go high 200. I'm going to go 290 graded, 7 10s.
You guys are those are both like pretty solid. We're at almost 500 graded, but 4 10s.
Ooh.
Wow.
Like, and one of them was pretty recent, and it was, you know, obviously a big deal, you know, having these. But like, yeah, I mean, we get like these pop reports that are minuscule, and it's interesting because we can't, you know, it's almost like these things can't have a wave, right? It'll be like one sells in 2020 for $5,000, and then the next sale could be like today, you know, like, because a lot of these, especially with PSA cards and like the vintage and mid-era stuff, is you have these collectors that are set collectors, and so like a lot of these cards are kind of locked away for a long time, you know. So
yeah, and they don't care what the price is because they just want it as part of their set, and they got it back then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just it's interesting. It's always fun to hear about. So shout out whoever threw the level X's in the chat.
Yeah, Diamond and Pearl.
Underrepresented era.
Diamond and Pearl perpetually slept on. It really is.
We had one more Gyarados of reality here. And I want to call on you, Jake, for this one, because not long ago you talked about, you know, it's okay to take profits. I think that was probably the Top Signals episode 2 episodes ago or something like that. Yep. So what would that be, a month-ish ago? And feeling like maybe that's aged fairly well. But, you know, if you want to build a sizable collection, you've got some thoughts on when to do that.
Yeah. So about a month ago, like you said, Ricky, it was, you know, I wasn't recommending anything specific, but like just kind of talking about the philosophy of, hey, be okay taking profits. And if you need to use those profits elsewhere in your life, then that's totally appropriate. Like this is a hobby business. Even if it's a business, then, you know, it's still a hobby business, you know? But for a lot of people, we're just in it for the hobby aspect of it. And even I still am. Like I have things that I am not actively selling that if I had to, then I would. But anyways, not that I'm flipping the script, but also bringing in a nuanced conversation. This time I want to talk about, for those of us that are interested in being in the hobby long term and interested in building a large collection, by default, over the course of the time that you're in the hobby, you have to be a net buyer. You have to buy more than you sell. That's just pretty simple math, right? But what I'm getting at is sometimes it makes sense to do a little bit of thought about when that buying should take place. And right now we've seen a pretty significant retracement, despite there still being a lot of tailwinds. There's still the holiday season.
Yeah.
There's still 30th anniversary around the corner. There's still new DLC being released for the video game that just came out. There's still a lot of reasons why there should be excitement and hope for the value of your items in the future. And yet a lot of things on the market have taken a pretty significant price dive. And so if you're the kind of person who's wanting to be in the hobby long term and wanting to buy things that could, be worth more in the future so that you could continue to fund your hobby or whatever, might be a good time to take some action now. And that doesn't mean like spend every dollar that you have. It's never good to go all in on one bet, in my opinion. But for those of us that have had some capital on the side, maybe now is a good time to deploy it and be judicious about which things you're choosing. We talked about that Sell BV alt art. I'm not saying like, hey, go buy a whole bunch of PSA 10 slabs, because we'll talk more about kind of some of the interesting things that are happening in the graded market later on today. But just remember that if you want to build a large collection, you have to be a net buyer long term, and people who are savvy are going to want to make those buys when other people are maybe a bit more fearful, right?
The classic, I think it's attributed to Warren Buffett adage of like be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. And we also talked about that bull market climbs a wall of worry idea. And if everyone's euphoric, that's a really, really bad sign of being in a bubble.
Yeah.
It's just like you can't lose. And so now that we're seeing that mix, like it's sort of a healthy retracement. It's an opportunity to buy some things sort of on sale relative to their recent all-time highs. So agreed. Yeah. Be greedy when others are fearful, as yes, Jake Buffett. That's you.
Yeah, he's been known to say that. Yeah.
What was it you said, Jake, in that episode? I knew, I was like, promised myself I'd remember it. You had said something about making money. You're like, making money is the best way to make money. You said something really really awesome like that.
No, I'm always eloquent. I've never put my foot in my mouth, Ricky. So we should just go right on.
I'll just have to go figure out what that was and write it down. No, I love that Gyarados of reality and agree with it. I don't really have anything to add. Drew, anything to add on that? Like, be a net buyer when others are net sellers out of fear?
No, I think Jake hit it pretty head on.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. So our last Hitmon, or not Hitmon topic, our last segment in the tall grass is to share a Clumble. So of course, a Clumble is a relatively recent attempt at a play where we like made a conscious choice, thinking it was a good move, that it was gonna grow in value, help our collection somehow. Some sort of move we made, and as of right now, really hasn't panned out in our favor. I'm happy to start because mine's not super interesting. I posted a video about this a couple months ago. I was doing a buyer POV. I traded at 85% in their favor into a gray felt hat Pikachu PSA 10 when it was like 2,200 to 2,500. Yes, make money while you're alive. Thank you, Wind Waker.
Curse you, Wind Waker. Why
Waker,
did you do this?
My guy. We
Curse
can always
your good
count on
memory.
Make your money while you're alive. That was it. Thank you. Yes. Oh, what a bar, Jake.
Signing off.
Anyway, I traded into a gray felt hat Pika PSA 10 when it was like 22 to 2,500 market value a couple months ago, and now they're selling in like the 1,600s. So more than 25% correction in value there. Lost all the margin I had already lost by, I'd already lost margin by trading it, and then lost further margin. So, not catastrophic, but probably fully down $300 to $500 worth of value there. So, yep, didn't time the old Van Gogh Pika perfectly. So I'm still just kind of bag holding that now at this point.
Mine's really similar. It just comes down to graded cards. Like I was in Houston, and the vendor, I think I mentioned this, but the vendor across, we'll talk more about this literally in our next segment, but the vendor across me when I was in Houston sold over $100,000 worth of slabs to one of these big institutional buyers at the show.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, I was like, man, like, I don't need to do that. I think slabs are going to be, pretty solid, pretty liquid. I got a bunch of shows coming up, so I don't need to liquidate so much. And, now all of those slabs are down like 30, 40%, almost all the modern ones at least. So missed out on what could have been all of the margin that I had into those slabs, probably something like that.
Oops.
Business is business.
Oops. Could have made thousands of dollars easily and then didn't instead.
And instead of making lots of money, I held the bag all the way down.
Yep. If only you had made your money while you were alive.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth? Preach, dude.
God.
I think I'm unusually good at like passing up easy money. Obviously like hindsight's 2020, but I'm being so for real. I think an institutional buyer that would just like buy slabs and just like I'd be in the same situation. I'd be like, nah, like I ain't doing that, And then sure enough,
you got a Clumble for us?
Yeah. Okay. I bought a lot of McDonald's Pikachus.
Oh,
and
heck yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw Z&G Emporium's recent post, but
100,000.
This card was like $250 in a PSA 10, like 2 weeks ago, maybe a little longer ago. But he was funny. He posted, he's like, you guys did it. Like there's 100,000 graded now at PSA, which is just so stupid. Like if anyone in the chat is listening, I'm going to be selling PSA 10 McDonald's Pikachus at a loss. You should not buy them. Like they're like, you should not buy them. They are, I think his recent post was like $86 or $83 for PSA 10.
Oh man!
All I can say is my raw price plus my grading fee is higher than $83.
Yeah.
So
nice.
And I don't have them back yet either. So in 3 weeks when they're back to me, it'll probably be like a $48 card.
So PSA hasn't offered you like $180 a piece on them yet?
Not yet.
Dang. And then reneged on it, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here. Yeah, dude, I think I've got 5 of them at PSA right now. So unfortunate that you had to enlighten me. I've been blissfully ignorant, not watching the price of those, knowing how many were getting.
I didn't know either until I saw the post, and I was like, huh? It's like I thought this was
100,000 is literally double the record of the card in second place
of Pokemon.
Yes,
100,000.
Yes,
is the record.
It's double the record.
Oh no!
What is it? Van Gogh? Is Van Gogh the number 2?
Van Gogh's at like 40 and change. I think I want to say base set Charizard still has more than Van Gogh total graded, but maybe not.
Huh. That's
I thought second place was like 50,000.
Second, I wouldn't be surprised if second place was like the Champion's Path, like Charizard V.
Oh, that's true. There's tons of those.
I know there was lots of those, but I don't know about how many. So that was my Clumble was those. I hate to say it, but those ones Clumbled, but it doesn't matter because I was one of the first Black Label sellers on one of the Pikachus, and
did you get 10K out of it?
I did.
Yes.
Which was also really dumb. Like I don't know.
What was even dumber was the 20K guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I sold that one on I got the card graded I had my friend send me a picture of it. I was like, dude, I'll $50. I'll pay you $50 to send me a semi-decent picture right now. And he took a picture front and back, and I listed it on eBay that day, like 5-day auction, and it went for $10,900.
Wow.
And that was my own eBay account. And yeah, I mean, obviously I verified the sale. Like, but yeah, I knew it was going to drop quick, but I did not know it was going to go that quick. So,
so crazy.
So our Clumbles kind of a Gyarados of reality on their own, but I think this is a good moment for us to shift into our main topic of the day, which is what are institutional buyers doing to the hobby, and how are they affecting the hobby, particularly when it comes to graded cards? Jake, do you want to get us kicked off with this topic?
Yeah, and I know that this word is kind of, again, it's kind of corporate. Institutional buyers, what we're talking about are companies, specifically like large corporations, that are dipping their pocketbooks into the secondary market, which is something that is so new. Historically, all of the big corporations were like, they were almost exclusively dealing in retail of new products, or in PSA's case, just kind of services that are on the fringes of the hobby, but not necessarily getting involved in the marketplace of collectibles, right? Secondary market collectibles. And that is now totally different. So, if you are in the Pokemon content YouTube sphere at all, then you've probably seen some chat about people at these large events, Collecticons, Front Row Card Shows, Card Party, elsewhere, that have sold to some of these companies who either set up booths or have representatives that walk around at the shows and just buy huge sums of graded cards from the vendors, and are paying pretty strong as far as percentage of market price. Sometimes as high as like 94%. Sometimes I personally sold some cards to someone who was buying in bulk as a middleman to one of these companies. And they had like a theme that they were buying. They were buying Pikachus and Gengars that day, because my guess is it was for a mystery pack that was Pikachu or Gengar themed. And they were paying 100% on as many Pikachus or Gengars priced between $200 and $800. And so I just brought every single card from my case. And I had 20 cards that fit that description because they're popular Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I just sold them all instantly for cash. And now we're going to talk about how that's not necessarily the case right now, because things have already a little bit changed with what's going on here. But we want to talk about what is going on? What does all of this mean for the hobby? Is it good? Is it bad? What are the downstream effects? And then also I want to at least dabble in the question of the morality of how much of the money that's flowing in the hobby right now has come down to kind of a gambling pull game. And is that good? Is it bad? Is it, what's the right word for it? So that's kind of what I want to get into. Is that a fair description for you guys?
I think you nailed it. The only thing I might add is that we're also going to talk about PSA making offers for your cards at the point of grading, which is very connected to this, but also totally a distinct thing from the, Arena Club fanatics, courtyards, GameStops buying these for these pull games. Our friend Ern here, yeah.
Ern, thank you for the warning. I have we're using a VPN, so no one can find our IP addresses, and we're taking the important precautions.
Yeah, I know Ern is he now can't even speak about some of these topics because the invisible hand is watching him now.
Yeah. It's like Santa Claus, but worse.
If the casino is paying 100%, what does that tell you?
Yeah, it means that they're selling it for 150.
Yeah. So Jake, one thing you noted, I think there's so much to talk about it. I don't even know where to start, but one thing you mentioned that I thought was incredibly interesting was that this past weekend you brought some cards to some of these folks, or vice versa, they came to you, and they were being, compared to a month ago, very picky.
Yes.
About what they were buying.
Yeah.
And you made the point that this is about the nature of the pull game, right? Like people pull, let's say you spend $1,000, you get a $2,000 slab, you can have it shipped to you, or you could sell it back to them for like 90 something %. And you basically just doubled your money, and you can cash out or keep gambling or whatever. And people very often just sort of do the sell back option. And so these cards aren't actually getting shipped out a lot of the time.
Yeah, what's fascinating about this business model is all these businesses have elected to purchase all of this inventory, have it on hand, so when things get pulled in the pack or whatever, then they have it on hand to just either ship it or obviously re-vault it if the person decides to sell it back to the service, right? Two comments on that. Number one is a lot of the cards are not being shipped out because the fact of the matter is that it's kind of a gambling adjacent activity, and people who are interested in gambling activities are more interested in the money. They're not necessarily as interested in the cards. And so if they pull a felt hat Pikachu that's worth $1,500 and they only paid $500 for the opportunity to do that, then they're just going to, more often than not, sell that card back to the service. And those services are offering like 90% of fair market value, which they are also determining what fair market value is, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. And so, that person paid $500. Now they're going to get $1,200 back or whatever the number is, and that means that those cards never leave the circulation of the pull game company. And at a certain point, that company only needs so many felt hat Pikachus. They don't need to just keep buying them because they're not actually moving them. They're just displaying them to be potentially won. And so this is a specific example for me. I went to one of these booths to sell some of these cards. Felt hat Pikachu, Kingdra promo from the Shrouded Fable box. They flat out said, no, we will not take this card in, because they already have so many copies that aren't selling or aren't being shipped when somebody wins them. So it's just it's an interesting thing, because there's going to be this belief that's kind of circulating the hobby about, like slabs are so liquid because these companies have a never-ending pocketbooks and are just going to buy them at 90% from anyone. And that's already not true. It seems to me like what might be more true is they just build up an enormous inventory, and maybe then they only need to buy like 1% as much as they have in, the original first year in order to replenish the inventory that was actually sold.
Yeah.
The other piece that I think is fascinating here, guys, is, like I mentioned, these companies are electing to buy all of this inventory up front, which means if it goes down in value, like they're holding all of that value. And these pull games are limited, I think, in time. Sometimes they're limited in like the number of spots that can be purchased before they're kind of refreshed or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of just depending on representatives of that company to accurately revalue the cards that don't get shipped out but are still in inventory, but then are recycled into a new pull game, so that the value is kind of commensurate with the amount of money that they're charging for the actual pull. Like, are those people just going to use some secondary service to value those cards? Do they have professionals who are involved in the secondary market who are doing that? Mm-hmm. Because from my experience, once again, the people that are buying all these cards at card shows, they're people who are savvy, have been in the market for a long time, but they're also using imperfect estimations, and they're looking at recent sales. Like, these things don't have a generally agreed upon fair market value. That doesn't exist in this industry. So it's there's a lot to think about as far as that's concerned. And I also wanted to maybe bring up and loop you guys back in. what's just our take on the fact that these companies are using third-party data aggregators like Card Ladder or whatever to value these cards?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear from Drew on this. You've been in the graded card game so much longer than I have. Do you have a take?
I mean, specifically on like the card ladder and stuff, like how they're valuing it. I think what's funny is maybe I'm a little old school, and this probably speaks to, when there's big money, we're gonna have big players, right? And so we have these companies that, I mean, they've got millions of dollars in budget, I'm sure, and they're pretty much going to an actuary, right? They're saying, hey, run the numbers. Like, what can we buy at? How much can we realistically hold based on these numbers? Like, they have people that are obviously way smarter than me, and that these people have probably never even seen a Pokemon card. They're seeing numbers on a spreadsheet, and they are like running, looking at these market,
Yes.
data.
Yes, that is exactly. They have algorithms.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I'm sure that the numbers behind it make sense for them. Otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. So, but someone had an idea, and someone ran the numbers and said, look, this is better than investing in the S&P 500. So let's run it. And I think they're obviously doing very well right now. When it comes to like Card Ladder and Collector, I've never downloaded or used those ever. I don't use like I've never used like an app to determine a price point, but I know that like usage of these apps has gone way up, and Collector launched, I mean, like not that long ago, and it seems very popular amongst collectors that got in around the same time that Collector launched. Like people were posting, oh, like that's what's crazy is we're seeing portfolio, but it's a list of Pokemon sealed product, right? So I mean, I think when it comes down to it, when there's this high amount of money in the space, we're going to see some big characters looking to move in, and we're seeing multiple, right? Like we're seeing multiple companies start to try and do this. And I think that points to the fact that like a lot of smart people with a lot of money are seeing an opening.
I had a thought while you were talking there, Drew. Sorry, Ricky, but like I'm just thinking about maybe the reason this entire topic irks me so much is because I'm so aware of how imperfect the data is, how imperfect the information that is going to inform the relative value of these gambling poll game things that are, because like I think about some of the streamers who have been doing this for many years, right? They have a poll game, they stream, they have 32 spots that you can buy. And, there's this many cards that are floors, and there's that many cards that are chases, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, at that scale, the prices and the values of everything can be much more generally agreed upon. It's such a finite amount of cards, such a finite amount of data. But when we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of slabs that are in their huge revolving inventory all the time, being bought and sold virtually every second, there's so many places where the data is going to misrepresent what a certain card might actually be worth in a given moment, which will always bite against the collector or the buyer in this case. It will always bite their side, because on the other side, we're dealing with retail companies who operate in a world of very specific margins. If I can buy this because I can sell it at that, and they know their margin, they know their overhead, they know their expenses, and they know how much money they need to make in order to turn profit. And they're not going to take huge L's. They're much more likely to pawn a loss in value off on the buyer and plead forgiveness at a gap in information when there's some sort of, customer support issue, saying like, hey, you promised that this was going to, like, I pulled the max pull, it's a top tier rarity, you said it was a minimum $1,000, but this card last sold for $645 on eBay. Well, the support channel doesn't care.
No.
And neither does the company. But what I'm getting at here is, and what I just realized, is that these pull games are going to be fueled by a consumer base that doesn't know better.
Yep.
Yeah.
A consumer 100%. Base that is more interested in like kind of the flashy allure of the gambling activity than actual value attainment.
Yep.
And that's just kind of scary. It's kind of scary because that's going to be some part of that is going to be equated to what we are doing, which is collecting cards and trying to kind of build value in our collection or in our inventory as a shop, right? Like those are not the same thing at all, but they will be compared and contrasted.
Totally agree. Someone said something sort of related to this in the chat, like they created their own company store ecosystem or this like vertically integrated thing. As Drew was talking, I had a similar thought and it goes off. I started taking notes because I didn't want to lose it. The conspiratorial view here is like these major players, their tendency is always to find an opportunity, take complete advantage of it, maximize how much they can gain from it in as short a time as possible, then leave after they've plundered it. And so to your original question, Jake, on like, how do we feel about like the data and the use of card ladder and stuff? When PSA gets in the raw card and then they grade it themselves and they decide what the price is based on a tool that they own subscription to, where they could theoretically control and remove low sales from it, or they could just show you what they want to show you, decide what the price is. This, like you were kind of saying, like, oh, this thing is actually sold for 600, but you guys said it's over 1,000, and well, our data shows it's over 1,000. Like you said, they're not going to care.
Yeah.
And so, like, no matter what, it always trickles down to the individual getting absolutely hosed, and then eventually leaving.
Yeah. It's a quick buck for them, I think.
It's a quick buck, and they're colluding. It's like it's PSA together. It's PSA partnering with GameStop. It's eBay owning. eBay bought PSA or something along those lines, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? So all these things are shady, and we're seeing examples of this. Like I don't mean to, I don't want to move on, Jake, from what you were saying necessarily, but I think it's so related to what Drew was telling us the other day about PSA's value that they show you and how quickly they can pull that back. I've got some examples. So Drew, you had sent some things here. I believe I blinded them, so I'm not going to dox anybody in case this was a private exchange. But Drew, can you tell us a little bit about this? Because it's so related to what Jake and I are saying here, I think.
Yeah, so this was someone that had looked up like a cert, like their exact cert, and of the card that they had, this Charizard, and PSA gave them a value for it, saying if we bought this card, like this is what we would pay. And then they send the card to the PSA vault, and then when they get the actual offer, it's substantially less than the card, like less than essentially what they said that they would pay, a week ago. And then once it actually gets to PSA, it takes time for it to get vaulted. And so then the offer even goes down farther. So, and then, this is, similar example. This was just someone's story. But you can look up the cert number and see the PSA offer. And so this is a card that this particular collector has in the PSA vault right now. This is what's crazy. So they're saying this card, this cert, $3,024 offer.
Yeah.
Like that's what they would give. And then he looks at he goes to, essentially like check out, and this is the offer that they give him. So we're looking at almost 50% of what the like public offer is on a card that they have in real time. Like he can look up he can look up the cert number and see what they would give, and then immediately go to take the offer, and this is what they get. Like less than, or not less than, but nearly 50%.
About half. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And again, I don't know if this is happening exactly, but I'm just thinking about like how this entire situation matures. Because let's say I was a brand new vendor trying to get into the Pokemon secondary market to do buy sell trade and had my own mystery packs at my table or whatever. But I don't have any product. I don't have any collection. I don't have any inventory at all. But what I have is like $500,000. What would I probably do? I would say, okay, well, what I need most is inventory. So I'm going to make a whole bunch of deals up front and pay what I need to pay to get into the game, to get in to the point where people know who I am, and I've got some things at my table that kind of set me apart as the kind of buyer or the kind of, vendor that I am. But then later on, maybe I'm not making the same offers as I was at the beginning because I don't need those cards as bad. And maybe that's a little bit of what's happening here, right? Like PSA, GameStop, these other companies are doing mystery packs or doing this buyback system or whatever. Maybe they are like, okay, we just need to get into the game and we'll pay what we need to pay in order to get all of these assets right now because it's business necessary in order to actually launch this new product line or whatever. But once it gets stood up and there's this kind of expectation that they're going to pay at a certain rate, but they don't need to anymore. And then on top of that, like maybe they have some people that are on staff who are trying to like understand the trends of the secondary market. And it's like, okay, at the beginning, market is strong, things are booming, things are going up. You're going to have to pay high in order to get any of these cards. But then in a time like now, things are starting to go down a bit. And maybe those people are making the recommendation of like, hey, like you don't need to pay as high. Things aren't as strong. Things are going down. You need to protect your bottom side risk, et cetera, et cetera. And they're going to shift up, but they don't have like policies and they're not beholden to the general collecting public to always buy at the same rate or sell at the same rate or make offers at the same percentage. It's all just whatever they're going to make up based on data and algorithms that they made and maybe sometimes stick to. It's just so messy.
We're getting some really good points from Tiny Flame TCG in the chat right now. Yeah, like this is like Open Door and Zillow buying homes.
Yes, Tiny Flame.
They're giving market value and they're also buying. Like so, they're able to control essentially both sides of the coin. And then even with the Uber and Lyft example, like if people don't know this, like Uber and Lyft were operating at a loss for a long time, which is basically a lot of businesses do this in America. Like in this day and age, they enter a market and they severely undercut competitors to the point that the competitors then go out of business and then things become more expensive than they were before. So like, beginning of Uber and Lyft was great for consumers. It was awesome. I was like, why would we ever take a taxi? And then the taxis go out of business. Prices become more expensive than what they were when we had taxis. And now I'm going, wow, I wish I had the taxis back, and we're seeing this is cut and paste attempt.
Yes. And it's worse than that. I agree with this from Bob Goblin. If Zillow was also doing the home inspection and then also sold it in a mystery bag. So like here's hey, you can spend $500,000. You might get a $250,000 house. On average, you get a $400,000 house. You might get an $800,000 house and you can sell it right back to us for $750K. And it's so obvious that the house is going to win in this. And they've really stacked the deck in their favor. It is like if Open Door and Zillow were buying homes in 2020 and also doing the home inspections and appraisals. That is exactly what it's like.
Cutting them up and putting them in junk bonds.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's exactly what it is, dude.
That's very good.
It's brutal. So a couple things. One more thing that we observed before we maybe talk about how this shapes the hobby. What does it mean for vendors and people that are into grading? And, is this just a modern thing? Is this going to happen in vintage? Like before we talk about what this means for us, essentially, Another thing we've observed is these unusually low sales through the PSA store.
Yes.
And I don't think any of us right now on this pod are going to claim to understand what is going on here. And so maybe folks in the chat have their own ideas as well. We've got some theories, but like just to keep using that Celebi V example, because we're all familiar with the prices of this card now from today's conversation, right? Went up to $500 around September. Right now, November, selling more like $250 to $300. And here's a best offer accepted on a non-auction, $155. And I think some of these aggregators like Misprint and Alt showed this at like $180, which also hardly makes sense. But the bottom line is this card was $500 2 months ago. It is selling for $250 to $300 right now. And then regularly you can find these comps at PSA that are like 40, 50% of the sales at other places like Z&G Emporium, or from independent sellers like me or Drew, who just have a, modest eBay store or whatever. Like what is this? What is going on with this?
This is
the conspiracy mind in me is like,
yeah,
they're taking crazy offers because then they can use their own data to undercut the buying opportunities.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like that, the conspiracy in me is like, well, if we sell 6 of these for half price, then we can buy them for like 80% off from people who are grading them with us right now.
We can create our own clearance.
Dude.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, that's obviously conspiratorial, but that goes right in line with what I was just saying. Yeah. Like, if you take the conspiratorial view, they are just going to get in, manipulate the market, completely control it, control every part of it.
Based on our sales data from our eBay store,
this
which
card
has
is worth
$250,000 feedback and 4.825 stars.
Yeah,
this is strong data that will show. Hey, and guess who's an affiliate of PSA? Card Ladder. And whose sales are they going to include in their breakdown of recent sales and fair market value? Like I don't want to go there, but all of these hands are shaking behind closed doors.
So there's a couple things in the chat that we had discussed as other possibilities in the prep for this. So Tiny Flame saying it could be old items that were like in the vault, and so the prices are 9 months ago's prices. Elder Unlimited here saying PSA removing old listings that sold a while ago and they just kind of bump back up. But even then, like the value of them doing this like deliberately, if that's how the eBay like algo pushes it back up in these aggregators, is it still comes right back to potential opportunity to say, yeah, we only use Card Ladder for comps. We're showing that this card sells for $150. We'll offer you 90% of that, and you get a $300 card for $130.
Exactly. Whether or not it's something that's nefarious, it's
interesting.
It's informing a data set.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Best case scenario, it's messing up the integrity of the data that is democratized to regular people who are more likely to get taken advantage of and reliant on the tools that these people control, like Card Ladder. Best case scenario.
This is fascinating.
Yes, it is.
Like, let me put on my tinfoil hat real quick.
Let's do it.
I may be more prone to do than some other people, but I mean, like, this is regardless of if this was a like colluded effort, it still just creates more doubt in collectors that have been around the block. I mean, there's some people that are entering the hobby right now, and this is the norm for them, right? They came back into the hobby because of a Whatnot poll game. You know what I mean? And so maybe they aren't, they're not even thinking twice. I mean, yeah, it seems like every other day, right? We have a TCG player buyout too, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think with this, it's like what we've touched on earlier, is when there's big money, we get big players. And so I think we're going to see some interesting developments in the next few months. And are we going to see some people retrace and some businesses double down? 100%, but
To go along with what you're saying there, Drew, when there's big money, there's big players. And what big players love to do is keep making big money.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that leads me to believe is that all of the uncertainty and the weird systems that we're observing here and the strange sales data that's getting reported, blah, 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 like at a certain point, it's unsustainable and needs correction.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the consumers will be scared away. And the big players don't want the consumers to be scared away. And so I think long term, barring some sort of crazy, nefarious cabal, which I don't believe exists.
Yeah.
Right now, I think it's just really convenient that all of these people are in business together. But I don't believe that they're like conspiring to like, screw everyone. They want to make a lot of money for sure.
I think but
what I'm getting at is big businesses thrive in stable markets with predictable consumers and predictable profit margins. And in my mind, there's going to be enough pushback, whether through, vocalization or just footboating and moving to other products and then not selling as much as they want to, for them to get their act together and make things clear, make things feel more fair, and not have such an obvious appearance of conflicts of interest. And so I think net, having all of these bigger players in the industry is good for those who want their items to be valuable and there to be a business long term. But in the near term, it just feels quite messy.
Yeah.
Agreed. I totally agree. You said earlier, Jake, that they are not beholden to the collector. They are beholden to Wall Street and the shareholders.
Yes, they are.
That is who they are beholden to, and they like to see some money being made, and they don't often care exactly how that money is being made.
I think one aspect that just pains me is from some of the events I've been to over the years, like I've met a few PSA employees, right? And I know for a fact that when this, buyback program and mysteries, when this was announced, these employees that I met and am good friends with, they're going, they're like, this isn't what I would do, but I guess this is what the company's doing, right? And
sure.
So again, it's like what's tough is we end up in this spot where we have an amazing hobby that's full of passionate people that are passionate about what they love. And the corporation like encroachment draws nearer, it's like, and so I think
it happened in video gaming. Like all of the content that I'm seeing about video games right now are so negative because so much of video gaming has gotten purchased by large companies like Sony and Microsoft. And all of the good games that we liked and the good IPs have just gotten turned into microtransaction farms.
Mm-hmm.
And people just hate it. And you can't own your own media. You have to like rent it with a subscription. Like those kinds of things that are enormous money makers for these companies are so untenable for the people who are passionate hobbyists. There has to be, some version of that. This is what this is. It's some version of that kind of corporatization of where the money's flowing.
Totally. And as much as doom and gloom as we've done, and there are so many examples this year, I've really observed how many of the sort of corporate mainstream versions of things have been lower quality than the indie versions of things. So sorry if anyone's a Swiftie, but Taylor Swift released her potentially most critically unacclaimed, criticized album recently. And that's, a massive star. And meanwhile, there's a lot of good indie music being released right now. And when you look at video games, a lot of the best games right now, Expedition 33, Hollow Knight, Silk Song, Hades 2, they are indie shops. It's not these big Ubisoft games with these mystery box, $100 Roblox bucks, corporatized things. It's these passionate projects from small teams. So yes, there's like some doom and gloom, and the corporate encroachment is happening, but I think there's also optimism that what often comes out the other side is the real passionate people eventually win back control. Is sort of what it feels like to me. I mean, that's been my lens on media in 2025.
I completely agree, Ricky. And like what I'm seeing is like in reaction, like going back to the video game comparison, in reaction to the modern video game scene just being totally infested with corporate loot boxes, is there's the indie side of it, which is great, and you can access through Steam and these other places. But there's also the most significant industry secondary market of retro gaming that there's ever been. And there are shows all over the country where you can go and buy physical media from collectors and local game stores and all that kind of stuff to play all the old school consoles and all the old school games. And there's, it's an alive and well industry. And what I'm having to think about, and again, this is just me, someone who is in the business of collectibles, what I'm having to think about is, what part of this industry do I want to be a part of, and is sustainable for me from a business standpoint, but also just from like what do I feel good about? Because obviously there's a lot of money being made in the graded card, buy from here and flip to a mystery bag, reseller kind of business. Like there's people at these shows spending $500,000 and then flipping that instantly to these conglomerates and making, let's call it 3 to 5%. Like, that's a lot of money for a weekend of work.
Yeah.
But I personally feel better maybe just about catering to a collector, more singles, more niche stuff, things that people can't find everywhere, that kind of stuff.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like this is where you guys bring value to the community. I haven't seen a single buyer POV that said, watch me sell 20 slabs to PSA. No one... like no one cares, it's a cold transaction, right? But you guys, with your interactions at these shows, people walk away not, maybe not every time, but on many occasions saying, wow, like I just met like a friend. I met someone that is interesting. I met someone that loves this hobby in a different way or the same way that I do, And so we're having these, really cool, also positive experiences at these shows where, you're getting to meet awesome people and they walk away from a transaction feeling like, wow, I got a good deal. I got to, make a fun, do something different, get a card I really wanted. People aren't having that when they walk up to a mystery slab booth,
Mm-hmm.
The only thing happening at the mystery slab booth is, maybe 1 in 100 gambler highs, right? And the other 99 people are going, I shouldn't have done that, But like when people get to interact with local vendors or vendors that are, traveling around to these shows, like people are still get to have kind of that like lifeblood. That's the indie experience, right? Is like,
totally.
It's this non-corporatized, it's like this fun, scrappy, it's something, So I think there will always be a place for the kind of interactions and environments that these shows provide.
Completely agree with you.
Rather than just the screen, the cold market price,
I completely agree, and that's going to exist in these places where like the corporate optimization machine can't exist, right? An example of that is GameStop is moving away from buying secondary games in a lot of situations, retro video gaming consoles and cartridges and that kind of stuff, because their efficiency machine doesn't make sense, because they are required to have a certain kind of margin in order to have their stock price be stable, blah, 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 blah. But it's a lot of work to buy an Xbox that's covered in, goop and get it cleaned up and make sure that it's working and, test the games and test the controllers and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's the same with the card market, right? It's a lot of work to know all the information that's required to have, 1,500 different cards at your table at a show. That's just a level of specialty and care and passion that you're not going to find in corporate. And so there's room, and this kind of dovetails into where I wanted to go with this conversation, which is how does this shape the hobby? How does what's happening shape the hobby? For vendors or those who resell at all, you're going to have to do more, in my opinion, than what these other companies are doing, or something different. Like, you can't just have the same modern graded PSA 10 cards at your table like they can get at, in the GameStop or the PSA Vault or whatever. Like, you're going to have something that you know more about and you understand more, and they won't find every day, and have the ability to have that interaction and that kind of stuff, and build a brand for yourself. Otherwise, like, you might be in a little bit of trouble as it concerns the future of your business. Yeah, and I know that there's other things to consider, like, what does this mean for LCSs? What does it mean for people who go into grading? I don't know. Maybe Drew, maybe you comment on, like, does all of this environment, does it change the approach for someone who's trying to grade cards?
We've seen some interesting comments in the chat about this, like, oh, will this move people to Tag or to Beckett, or, I think the simple answer is it's really hard to to dethrone a company as big as PSA.
Yes.
And, like, not just from a corporate perspective, but if you look at set collectors, most set collectors are registered in the PSA, like, registry. So not only is, the big bills, the big banks that are, involved in PSA, not only are they motivated, a lot of the collectors are too. And so, people, for their own collection reasons, aren't going to want to see their preferred grading company go down in value, right? Or have their name tarnished. And so there's a lot of bias, whether for good or for bad, And so I personally don't think there's going to be a huge shift in, what cards go to get graded where. PSA has kind of always been the dominant, and they definitely have a clean cut system, and it's predictable, in terms of grading, I think a few years from now, we'll maybe look back at some of the stuff that was graded during this time as, like, kind of like the junk era of slabs, right? We're going to have some cards that are used as coasters for beers. Like the Burger Chew, probably. We've got 100,000 of those. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think for grading, right, it's kind of like what you touched on, Jake, is you have to adapt, and you have to be open to being wrong, and you have to, change your approach sometimes. And so whatever you need to do to get there is kind of the route you got to take. So I think people are still going to keep grading. I think as grading gets more expensive, which we've seen this year, it takes longer. We've seen this year as well. I mean, both of those signs mean more cards are getting graded, and so maybe we will see a retrace on some of these, massively graded cards. Maybe not, but regardless, I think grading will keep happening, and people will keep the small collectors are going to keep doing what they want to do. If they want to complete that set, they're going to keep chasing it. If they want to try and flip cards, they're going to keep trying. And if some cards become harder to sell, we'll see less get graded. It's like, it's like, at the end of the day, we're going to see a market fluctuation. Do I think it will be catastrophic? Not yet. Unless we have some crazy, like, it would take something truly, like, earth-shattering in my mind.
It'd have to be insane, because, like, if we think about scandals, even like the CGC grading fake cards that are worth millions scandal, and like everyone's just moved on and still grades with CGC about the same amount. Like, PSA would have to, like, I don't even know, do something crazy.
Yeah, and again,
I want to say what it would have to be, because you get banned on YouTube or whatever.
But right, it's like, again, even if they, did something crazy, like, so many people have so much money invested in PSA, they're willing to just, like, gloss over it.
Yep.
So
move on.
There's someone a few months ago that I think it was after the CGC scandal posted. They were like, this hobby has a shorter memory than a goldfish, you know.
Yes.
Like so be one of the smarter ones, you know.
Love it. So great perspective on people who like to grade. I from a vending point of view, someone in the chat had mentioned like, oh, does this mean that it makes sense for vendors to change a strategy a little bit? And my thought is potentially yes. Like, I think if you are a card show vendor who is focused on modern PSA graded cards primarily, it does put you in a sort of vulnerable position a little bit. And I think to Jake's earlier point, like being diversified, like maybe it makes sense to learn more about vintage if you don't already play in vintage. Maybe like, you know, Jake, you and I do a lot. When I've seen your table a handful of times, my table's the same. It's like a lot of singles as well. A lot of that just comes from our passion as collectors and what we grew up with. So we're happy to just have a whole row of gold stars and shinings in MP condition for other true collectors to take on. But I do think that there's an advantage right now in sort of like downside protection or an insurance policy and understanding everything that the hobby has to offer, whether it's dabbling a bit in sealed, dabbling a bit in vintage, dabbling a bit in grading cards and having graded cards, maybe in other grading card companies, and certainly in singles. I have already openly in the open publicly been shifting my position from slabs to singles, seeing these signals over the past couple of months, just feeling a difference. And I know that there's outliers. I know, Jake, you sold a lot of slabs at Card Party not long ago, but like at my local shows, things that used to be very, very liquid as they got very expensive, I was only selling slabs to other vendors.
Yeah.
So that spooked me on like, well, like, you know, my core thing is that the collector will always be there and I need to cater. I can't rely a big part of this, like whatever side business on the ability to liquidate to vendors who in the current market might offer a lower percentage payout rate than the big corporations. Like, it just puts you in a weird spot. Your buy percentages get messed up. Like, why would people sell to vendors at 75% if they could sell to Arena Club for 95%? And that will narrow that gap. And some people will, for the convenience and for the indie personal card show experience, take a worse deal to get cash right on the spot from a real person and support a content creator or a vendor that they have a relationship with. People will do that. They will not take a 20% hit to do that, but they will take a few percent hit. I will gladly all day long sell for 5 or 10% less or buy for 5 or 10% more to interact with other like honest vendors and collectors than to do it with corporations that are, you know, sort of going to leave us in the dust someday. So that's my soapbox on what it means for vendors. TLDR is, yes, diverse, like, maybe move into singles, not a bad idea, or at least understand them.
Yeah. My last piece, I agree with all that. My last piece I'll add on is I got into this business because I like Pokemon cards. and I know that sounds simple, but if there's something on the fringe of the hobby, like, you know, certain companies just spoiling this other part and putting a bad taste in my mouth, I'm just going to focus my business on what I like, you know? And maybe that's more, you know, cool vintage blister packs or singles or sealed or whatever it may be, you know, like, and I just don't put as much effort into like curating a really diverse slab inventory. Maybe I go that route just because I want to, because that's what I like to do.
Yep.
Because the other piece just makes me feel a little bit weird about all the things that are happening. And maybe that's something that I'll do a little bit subconsciously. Because at the end of the day, like, if you guys go to my table, what you're going to find is a ton of cards that I like. And hopefully you like them too. And we can have that moment and share that, and you pick it up for me and whatever. But like, very rarely am I taking in a card that I just like absolutely detest.
Oh
just
yeah.
Because there's a money opportunity.
Yeah.
I started vending in October of last year and did it a couple times and was really finding how much attention there was on modern and graded cards at the time. And in January, I did a show where my inventory had shifted very heavily into like modern singles and PSA 10s. And it was still a successful show on paper, but I remember it feeling like in my soul, not as fun. Like
Yeah.
I didn't feel as connected to the experience of selling just modern PSA 10s over and over. And ever since then, I correction. I had a read. It was the right read from a business standpoint, but I'm not, this isn't my livelihood, and I do it for fun, and because I like Pokemon cards. And so I oscillated straight back to like, I'm always going to have a Shining Gyarados at my table. I'm always going to have that beat up, whatever, the Shadowless Charizard or whatever comes by. Like having those mixed in keeps me sort of connected to the actual reason I got into it, which is I like Pokemon and Pokemon cards.
Exactly.
Is that the right note to shift into our Q&A at 2 hours and 10 minutes?
I think that's perfect.
Okay. So folks, I've been starring. I have 15 things starred. The chat has been, again, saying smart things the whole day. I mean, I don't know, Drew, you said you're new to the show and you're seeing it from the other side of the screen, but I feel like we've got an educated audience here. So if you've got any questions for us, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Like I said, I've been starring some, so I'm going to go and revisit some from as far back as the very beginning of the stream. So a couple things. I don't think we acknowledged this. We were in the middle of some very deep conversation. Xenix Live $50 super chat investment in us buying Gold Star Torchic. So Xenix, hopefully you're still here. Thanks for that. Sorry we missed it earlier. I think we were engrossed.
Thank you for the support, Xenix. Good to see you on the stream yesterday too.
Very cool.
Love it. Okay, so going into, is this just poor timing for the retrace with general economic uncertainty from Bob Goblin?
I think there's a little bit of that, like the macro impact of government shutdown and that kind of stuff, but also kind of a soft employment market, as far as I can understand, is based on the data that I'm seeing. A little bit harder to get a job right now, it seems like. But I don't know, if as far as the cards, I wouldn't say that there's just like a 1-to-1 correlation. In my opinion, the retrace that we're experiencing now has a lot to do with like fatigue and how, like, as things just go up and up and up and get more and more expensive, they're like, it's an unsustainable trajectory. And for the amount of time that it took to go from 0 to 100, Celebi from 200 to 500 in 6-7 weeks is like, it's like, whoa, it's like, let's pump the brakes on that. And we all kind of collectively see that. And that's what the market does. It naturally moves in the direction of sentiment in the short term, and then strong fundamentals in the long term. And I think it's just kind of a sentiment move that we're seeing here. We're all like, okay, it's all worth a little bit too much. It's all trading a little bit too fast. Let's put our money somewhere else and maybe just sit tight for a minute.
I totally agree. We've had some form of economic uncertainty all year, and yet we've gone this long with zero retrace in anything ever in this Pokemon hobby. It's been all year that the interest rates have been high, and inflation feels high, and is Fed gonna cut rates, and central banks are buying gold at unprecedented levels, and is the US dollar not a reserve currency anymore? It's been going on all year. I actually think if there's any sort of more macro thing, other than to Jake's point, because I agree that a lot of it is just fatigue, and we were overdue for a little bit of a just like slowing down and getting back to reality, coming down to earth a little bit. It is a lot of this boom, and then a lot of the people that were paying for things were paying with crypto and Bitcoin, and some of those other, primarily, let's just say Bitcoin went from like 125 or 130 all-time high, and it's been hovering closer to 100. It dipped under 100K recently. So that could be part of it as well. I think that's almost, if there's a macro explanation beyond just what's insular to the hobby, I actually think crypto correction has more correlation potentially to what's going on with us. Because I mean, the general, job market and stuff, it's tough and people are bear hugging their jobs or whatever, but S&P 500 is still like doing well. So there's all these different metrics you can look at. And no, I don't think it's I don't think they're too connected. I'm with Jake.
Yeah, I think you guys hit on it great.
If I'm going to Collecticon New Jersey in 2 weeks and planning to vend in December, should I just look at buying versus trading anything coming up? At buying versus trading anything coming up.
I'm not quite sure I understand.
Yeah, I'm not sure I do either.
I guess I'll just kind of quickly give an anecdotal personal experience of what's been going on in these shows in the last month. I've been net buying more than ever before. And so that can't go on forever. You have to have cash flow at a certain point. And so I would just say be aware of your cash flow and buy enough to have a good inventory, but don't overbuy, because there's no guarantee that you can sell if you don't have really established sales channels. So be smart about how much you're buying and how much you're paying for your items.
Wise advice.
Wise advice. The Colts 89, around what percentage of people y'all sell to in a typical show are new to the hobby? Depends on how you define new.
It's kind of an impossible piece of data to know exactly, because first of all, new is kind of a subjective term, like you said, Ricky, but also we don't really get the chance to ask every person that we interact with exactly how long they've been in the hobby and then kind of keep that data anywhere. But I would say every single show I talk to somebody who tells me that it's their first time ever being at a show, but that's very anecdotal.
Yeah, I couldn't give a percentage, but and I would maybe, in my mind, I would define new as probably like broadened by Prismatic, like 2025 entrants. It's a decent percentage. I would imagine a quarter or so, a third of the people that I interact with at shows, if I had to take a wild guess, entered the hobby this year. What would happen from Wind Waker? What would happen if all of Pokemon just stopped? What would ultimately happen? There would still be everything released from now till the 90s. Okay, I saw the question mark. I saw the question mark and thought this was a question, but I think it's just Wind Waker making a point. Xenix, what was or is the bigger bubble, AI or Pokemon?
Neither.
Whoa.
Crazy.
Neither are bubbles. Both have things to sort out. And not everything that they're doing today is going to exist, 2-3 years from now, as far as their approach to going to market. But they're both here to stay.
Yeah, I'd say both here to stay. I think, you bring up good points. I think AI though has obviously a lot more market cap.
Well, yeah.
If there's any place for an exponential increase or an exponential decrease, it'll be AI. It feels, yeah.
Its impact on humanity is a little bit different than Pokemon cards.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. It's an absolute mover and shaker. Pokemon
both are on the moon, no matter what.
I bet Pokemon has touched more people than AI has so far.
Yeah. Yeah, but AI has created more people.
That's good.
What? Okay. Has it even?
That's a joke about scams. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. I work in AI. I sold language models to enterprises for 1.5 years, and now I work at a company that is not quite as AI, but a native, a very AI native software company. I am more concerned about the fundamentals in AI than in Pokemon, actually. That would be my anecdotal read. On a variety of levels, are either a bubble. I'm still actually educating myself every day on exactly how different people define truly what a bubble is. But I think the foundational thing is that it's overvalued, essentially, right? That the current value is out of proportion to the real value being created. Yeah. And it's hard to quantify or even qualify the value that Pokemon creates for people.
Unlimited, baby. Charizard to the moon.
Charizard, yeah. It's as you can see from our backgrounds, it can become your whole personality. But you know, like Nvidia alone is like 8% of the S&P 500's value.
That's
right
insane.
now. And OpenAI is making these $300 billion deals with Oracle, and their revenue is like $13 billion. And their CFO that they hired is like, yeah, you know, once things get big enough, usually the government kind of comes in and bails you out. And there's some funky stuff happening there that suggests to me that it is going to be very unlikely that the AI as a sector realizes the value that it needs to fulfill the current valuations. I think it's something like it has to produce some trillions in revenue, and it's going to do half of that over the next couple of years, and that is out of proportion. So I'm a little more worried about the AI impact than the Pokemon impact, though. Neither is going anywhere.
The Gov do be doing that.
The Gov do be doing
good.
that.
That's good.
You like that? You like that nerding out, Jake?
I loved it. I want to go in deeper, but this is not the time or place, unfortunately.
I know, it's so funny. It's like we get into the Q&A and the Pokemon podcast becomes a personal finance podcast where we have to be like, it's not, this is not.
What I love also is like Ricky's like speaking his future like job security into the dirt. He's like,
I mean, a lot of this is like a different podcast if you get me into this. How do I do this story quickly so that I don't bore people who are not interested in this and just want the Pokemon stuff? I worked at a company that was selling language models. I was not that happy at that company, but the company was doing well. And I felt like this education on being on the frontiers of language models and building AI applications in enterprises was like going to be, it was like career defining and important. Like these people can displace people who do sales and things like adjacent to sales. And when I was thinking about leaving that company, I was telling my wife, I was like, I'm just worried that companies like this will replace my job, and I like the boat will leave port, and I want to be on the boat when it does.
mm-hmm.
And the company I work for now actually is closer to it. It's a product for salespeople to automate a lot of what salespeople do.
Mm-hmm.
It's still human in the loop, but she was just like, isn't this company more likely to do that anyway? Like, isn't this actually like the more direct boat to be on when that boat leaves port? And I was like, great point. So anyway, that's some people in the chat are like, talking AI sucks.
Like, go back to the Charizard.
Yeah. More missing no chat. Talk about Charmander's nose getting cut off on the SIR. What else we got in the chat here? As a beginner vendor with mostly modern slabs and raw cards, would you say shifting to mid-era and vintage cards could be a potential move to avoid getting bit from PSA, GameStop, etc.?
100%. 100%. And Elsion, here's the other truth. You ready for this? There's some really cool vintage cards. And as you learn more and more about all those cards and generations and sets and rarities and hollow patterns and exclusive promos and blah, 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 you're going to fall even more in love with the hobby. And you're just going to expand your general knowledge, which is going to make you a better vendor, salesperson, hobbyist, whatever you want to call yourself in the long run. So like there's literally no downside to expanding your knowledge.
Oh, I like that.
Agreed. Yeah. Also, they're shiny and fun.
Oh, shiny, fun, and rare.
I think we touched on it a bit, but like, you know, when the pops are as low as they are, they're not moving as much. And so they're not going to be publicized and jumping up and down in price. There's not going to be buyouts on Diamond and Pearl PSA 9 hollows,
Right.
Okay, maybe our last question, just given the time and the questions are slowing down in the chat, and this is pretty early on. So Daniel Boss 1, new to Pokemon collecting. My question is: PSA the best grading brand? Does it matter which company? Does it affect the slab's value?
Daniel Boss, I would answer this question, but Drew and I already recorded a podcast that is exactly on this topic.
Ooh.
Long story short, PSA is the most popular, most widely used. They grade the most cards, and therefore most collectors collect those because they're most accessible. But I would say go refer to that podcast. It's in our Chompcast queue on the channel, and you will learn about PSA, CGC, Beckett, and others in pretty fine detail.
Shout out Chompcast.
Shout out.
Cross-pollinating the casts. All right. Let's call it there and end on an elite forecast.
Oof.
So for folks who are unfamiliar, the elite forecast is us just making a call. It's fun to predict things. We have been semi-right and semi-wrong, and I will speak to how I have been both of those in my call today, but each of us is going to just make a call on something. Is it going up? Is it going down? And by when? So who's going first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Besides prismatic evolutions, the best sealed product from Scarlet and Violet to buy as far as what it's going to be worth now compared to what it'll be worth 5 years from now, Black Bolt.
Not White Flare.
No, Black Bolt over White Flare, but specifically Black Bolt.
Okay.
That's my take. I think at the current price, it's undervalued, and it will get absolutely recognized as like a top tier set in the future.
And why Black Bolt but not White Flare?
Because people like Zekrom more than Reshiram, and because it has the Seismitoad.
Oh, the Seismitoad by the artist that's done like Giratina and the Magikarp.
Yes. Yeah, PSA 10 Seismitoad, Drew, goes for over $1,000, by the way.
That's Seisma stupid.
That's seismically stupid.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Love it.
Okay. I like it. Black Bolt.
All right, that's his call. Mine is so in one of our early streams, in our third stream in August, I said Swallowed Up Pikachu and other Japanese exclusive, like Pikachus especially, but any like popular Japanese exclusive, and I'm extending that now to like Chinese exclusive. I had called it 30 to 40% undervalued at the time. Now the whole market, PSA 10 slabs, many have retraced 30 to 40%. So in that sense, I was wrong that those cards were not going from 500 to 700, at least not yet. It doesn't look like they're gonna. But they have not retraced. So when you look at like Swallowed Up Pikachu or the Shibuya Pikachu, those cards have actually stayed the same or gone up slightly. So in a sense, like a lot of these things have retraced 30% and that has stayed stable. It's avoided a 30% retrace. So I was wrong about them being undervalued, but maybe more accurate to say that they weren't overvalued. And I'm just going to double down on this bet that these Japanese exclusives and Chinese exclusives of popular Pokemon will continue to see steadiness or growth before like heading into the spring until we're like getting into the 30th and tax season and whatever else. We're bouncing back in March, April, and these cards will be a safe little beacon, and they will continue to do their thing without getting absolutely annihilated in value.
It's classic Ricky to buy something and just be so excited about not losing money on paper compared to everybody else.
I already sold that. I sold that Swallowed Up Pikachu to somebody who watched that stream, so I'm not bag holding it. But yes, I knew you would have things to say about my choice of an elite forecast today.
I'm more referring to our competition where you beat me by not losing as much. Neither of us gained anything. You just lost less.
And I will continue to surpass you in excellence by not losing as much as you.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, you have the lowest lows, but I will have the highest highs.
Ooh.
Whatever, man. What? That doesn't make sense. It's fine. We're all on the spectrum of having lows and highs, and I'm gonna make my money while I'm still alive. And that's
I'm
really,
ending the stream.
that's really what's going to set us apart, is that while we are all on the spectrum of these highs and lows, I will make money.
This is your fault, Wind Waker. You're uninvited.
Thanks for reminding me, Wind Waker.
Wind Waker.
Drew, what is your elite forecast?
Someone actually mentioned it in the chat, and I'm sticking with the Bulbasaur promo. Someone mentioned that the stamped one is only $20 right now, and I think in 6 months that's gonna feel like a pretty good buy. I think I love that card. I don't own any of the stamped ones. I own quite a few of the Japanese ones since I'm pursuing a black label. But I just think that art is really good. And we've seen a lot of art rares get big attention just because it's cool art, you know, and that's been the Magikarp, the Seismitoad, I guess. But, you know, I think on these art rares, on, you know, cool art and a good Pokemon go a long way, you know. And I mean, Bulbasaur is an OG. He's number one. So I think yeah, 6 months from now, stamp Bulbasaur is gonna look pretty good.
Yeah, it's a top tier box topper. I'm a big fan as well. I have quite a few copies for that same reason. Just buying them up, never selling them.
I love that we're getting box toppers again.
Sometimes it's like here and there, whenever they decide to.
Yeah.
We should do it every box, in my opinion. But like right now, it's like Journey Together, yes. Destined, no. Mega, yes. Phantasmal, no. All right.
Yeah, that's kind of odd.
It's classic Pokemon. Do whatever they want.
Yeah.
and we will like it.
Yeah.
We will like it.
True.
Well, that is all we got, right, gentlemen?
That's all we got.
Okay. Thank you again, Drew, for joining us. We had a ton of fun. Appreciate your wisdom and your experience. And I'm sure we'll have you on again in the future. And for all of you in the chat, appreciate all of your time. This has been Midweek Machamps volume number 9. And we have another program scheduled. And the next one will be Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, right, Ricky?
Yep.
So the day before Thanksgiving, and we are working on bringing on our guest. Should we announce who it is, Ricky?
Let's do it.
We're going to be bringing on our good friend Dylan the Bulbasaur to the Midweek Machamps, talking about obviously a little bit of vending and some other things. So if you are interested in that, then be sure to tune in 2 weeks from today. Otherwise, you guys have a great night, and we will see you very soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
See ya.